The bus rumbled through the empty streets. Rain lashed against the windows. John was the only passenger, huddled in the back. He glanced at the driver. The driver's eyes were fixed straight ahead. He hadn't blinked once. John shivered. The air inside the bus was icy cold. He pulled his coat tighter around him. Something wasn't right. This wasn't the usual route. The bus lurched, throwing John off balance. He looked out the window. Street signs he'd never seen before whizzed by. A wave of fear washed over him. He was lost. John cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he called out. "I think you may be going the wrong way." The driver didn't respond. John's heart pounded. He gripped the edge of his seat. The bus rattled down a dark, deserted highway. Where was the driver taking him? He tried again. "Hey!" John shouted. "I need to get off at the next stop!" His voice echoed through the empty bus. The driver remained silent, his gaze unwavering. The lights inside the bus flickered. John's reflection in the window wavered. He looked closer. The reflection in the window wasn't him. It was a grotesque, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. John gasped and spun around. The seat behind him was empty. He was alone. Panic surged through him. This was a nightmare. The bus screeched to a halt, throwing John forward. He looked around. They were in the middle of nowhere. The only light came from a flickering street lamp, casting long, eerie shadows. Hesitantly, John approached the driver. He had to get off this bus. As he got closer, he noticed something strange in the rearview mirror. The driver had no reflection. John's blood ran cold. He reached out, his hand trembling, and tapped the driver's shoulder. The driver slowly turned. His face was a mask of shadows, his eyes two empty sockets. John stumbled back. A scream caught in his throat. The driver opened his mouth, and a raspy voice filled the bus. "Welcome home," it whispered. John's eyes widened in terror. The driver's form shimmered and dissolved. The shadows on the bus pulsed and swirled. John squeezed his eyes shut, his head spinning. When he opened them again, the bus was empty. He was alone. Then he heard a voice, a whisper in the darkness outside the bus. "It's your turn now." John turned towards the voice. A shadowy figure stood under the flickering street lamp, beckoning him closer. John felt a strange pull towards the figure. He stood up, his legs moving on their own. As he stepped off the bus, his reflection in the windows changed. His eyes flickered red. His skin turned pale and cold. He was no longer John. He was the new driver. The figure outside the bus grinned, a new passenger waiting for the last ride home.